Labor of Love is the worst reality dating show in television history. You've got a 41-year-old woman who's been ran through, who all of a sudden decides she wants a baby, even though she's nearly 2 decades past her prime fertile years. And now that high-value men are no longer looking in her direction for as much as even a one-night stand, let alone commitment, she decides to go on a reality dating show to find her first baby daddy. Now, one would think that any man worth his salt would quickly reject the prospect of battling other men for the privilege of impregnating a woman who's less than 9 years away from being half 100. But get this, Fox actually found 15 men willing to compete for the opportunity to knock her up. This thing's got train wreck written all over it. Guys, if you like my content, please subscribe, like, and share this video with anyone who's about to wife up an older woman. For the love of all things holy, share this video with the men who need it.
With most dating shows,
I, of course, never thought I'd be 41 and single.
First comes love, then comes marriage.
Here's to a love story.
But May 21st, Christy wants to put a baby in the baby carriage.
I'm ready. Let's have some kids.
15 daddy wannabes
Sudden fatherhood is terrifying.
compete for love and then some.
What labor actually feels like.
Hosted by Kristen Davis,
I want an invitation to the baby shower. Done.
Labor of Love.
Labor of Love is about a 41-year-old career woman named Christy Katzman, who's just realized her biological clock is, well, broken. In other words, she's out of time. She decides she wants to start a family, and so Fox put together a show to help her find a worthy donor. Ironically, the show is hosted by former Sex and the City star, 55-year-old Kristen Davis, which is certainly on brand because Sex and the City inspired today's women to sleep around in their prime fertile years, then settle down when they get their AARP card. Interestingly enough, Christy says multiple times during the show that if she didn't find any of them worthy, that she'd have no problem raising the kid on her own. A 41-year-old single mother. As if the world needs more boys who will likely go to prison or a future OnlyFans creator. And that's if they don't have any health defects. On other dating shows like The Bachelorette and Love is Blind, the age of the men are usually between 24 and 33, with the average age falling around 28 years old. Trust me when I tell you that this is not an accident. Well, what does the age of the male contestants have to do with anything, Donovan? I'm glad you asked. You see, men in their 20s have very little value in the way of accomplishments, money, career, traveling, and so forth. What's more is that they don't realize that their value increases over time, while a woman's value decreases over time. Men in their late 30s, early 40s have far more life experience. They've traveled and seen the world, they've had many great times with many different women, and are well established in their chosen professions, which means they're much more financially stable. This is what's known as a high-value male. But the average 28-year-old man has no idea that his value is about to skyrocket in a few short years. Add that to the fact that they have less experience with women, meaning they don't realize that women their own age are about to hit the attraction wall. It makes them easy marks for these dating shows. At 28 years old, a man has enough value to attract women, but not quite enough experience to be as selective as they could be later on down the road. So when other dating shows have a mid-30 spinster they need to marry off, they look for men who appear to have potential but haven't quite realized that they're at the dawn of their primes. Men who are on the cusp of increasing their value exponentially, but still naive enough to believe that the 33-year-old single mother of two is a great catch. Because 41-year-old Christy likely specified that she wanted men in their late 30s, early 40s. Why? Because she knows these men are much more established. Plus, she's been ran through by enough players to know that they do not make good dads. This collection of eligible bachelors blows away any other field of men competing for the affections of one woman by a mile. These guys are CEOs, entrepreneurs, and fourth-generation business owners, which is a far cry from personal trainers and struggling guitar players looking to break into the music scene. Any woman in their prime would be lucky to marry these men who probably all make over 6 figures. Never before have male contestants been subjected to the most humiliating, emasculating challenges. And keep in mind, this is for a 41-year-old woman with not even dried up eggs, but powdered eggs. Most men in the real world wouldn't engage in this kind of nonsense for a 21-year-old, much less a chick who's a few short years away from menopause.
All right, you guys. Part of this process is figuring out if you're all fit enough to be fathers. I mean that in the most literal sense possible. Waiters, please come in.
Is that a shot? Oh my God.
That is messing up. Y'all are ruthless.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, everybody needs to take one, please.
Not 30 minutes after the guys arrive at the house, they're instructed to produce a sperm sample to measure their fertility. This wasn't done off-site or in private. No, this was done in a mobile sperm bank in the driveway. These guys had to masturbate in a truck with everyone, including Christy and Kristen, standing outside waiting for them to finish up, implying that men too have a biological clock, lowering their value to Christy, which is almost none. However, these men, as seasoned as they appear to be, still don't realize their full value. Otherwise, they would have all walked away when asked to provide a sample in a cup for all the world to see, and that's why this is so important. Keep in mind that this is all before they know about Christy's fertility. So you mean to tell me that none of these men asked about her fertility? None of these men asked about her ability to carry a pregnancy to term before signing up for this disaster of a dating show?
So tell me how you're feeling.
I'm good.
Yeah?
You know, I mean, the truth is these guys have blown me away from the beginning.
Right.
And I don't know what I expected, but they definitely exceeded my
I agree,
expectations.
100%. So here's how it's going to go down. Later tonight, I'm going to tell the men that they each get some one-on-one time with you. We set up a glamping tent for you around the vent.
Ooh.
With a fire, some s'mores, hidden cameras.
The very next day, these men were told to dress to the nines, only to be taken deep into the woods, and they had no idea what was in store for them because they were deliberately instructed to dress as though they were going to a restaurant. That is absolutely humiliating. Now, most of the men kept their mouths shut, but Budge nearly left the show out of frustration. He seemed to understand that jumping through these kinds of hoops for women Christy's age was not worth the trouble. To make matters worse, they were attacked by a fake bear to gauge their protector instinct under the guise of, I want to see what kind of protective father he would be. And I'm thinking, are you for real with this? So let me get this straight. You want a group of high-caliber men who met you less than 24 hours ago, who know nothing about you other than the fact that you've been used by hordes of men and are looking for a golden parachute to risk their lives for you? Get out of here with that. It should come as no surprise that Budge and Mario were elated when Christy told them, I don't see us starting a family together.
Okay, we're ready.
All right, here we go. What is the official currency of Bulgaria?
I don't know.
Truman.
The lev.
Awesome. Multiply 22 by 4, subtract 23, multiply by 6, and divide by 3.
130.
Yes!
Those kids were so smart. They owned me at the podium.
As if that wasn't enough, the remaining contestants were driven to a private elementary school and utterly humiliated by children. One by one, they were asked trivia factoid questions that have nothing to do with making money or being successful. Had the questions been about, I don't know, a fixed mortgage or interest rate, this would have been a very different game. But instead, they were absolutely owned by these school-aged children. But there was something far more insidious about this drill. The kids they were up against were prodigies, as in genius-level intellect and superior academic knowledge. One of them was Ugachi Obuba, who competed in the NBC game show Genius Junior, which featured 36 of the most academically gifted students in America. Obuba has an Einstein-like mind, being able to do complex math equations in her head in just seconds. Her team, Geeks on Fleek, won the competition on the strength of her mathematical brilliance. So when she utterly destroyed Kyle, it appeared that Kyle lost to just an average kid, making him and the other bachelors look stupid and inept. But in reality, this was a setup. Kyle was pitted against a girl who eats, sleeps, and drinks mathematics, who, oh, by the way, also plays the piano and the cello. This little quiz bowl charade was nothing more than another way to further humiliate and emasculate men who are clearly at the top of the food chain in terms of being preferred by most women. There have been plenty of dating shows with a few high-caliber guys sprinkled in with a group of contestants. There have also been plenty of dating shows where the men are required to do something a little bit embarrassing. There have also been dating shows where the object of the men's affections were a little less stellar. Hannah Brown, who was making out with a different guy every other scene, and Jessica Batten, who continued to throw herself at an uninterested Barnett, come to mind almost immediately. But never before has there been a group of bachelors who, man for man, have the highest value of any group of male contestants on any dating show ever, required to work this hard to win the devotion of a woman who has the lowest value of any female in dating show history. Let me remind you again that Christy is 41. She is well past her prime. Even Claire Crowley, who is an absolute train wreck, is younger than Katzman. Yet, Christy thinks she's entitled to acquire the seed of these great-looking, well-established, well-traveled, educated men who could have multiple women half her age fighting each other for the privilege of sharing any one of them. Labor of Love is a microcosm of how entitled American women have become. The older they get, the less value they have. But for some reason, the less they bring to the table, the more they require in a man? I've only watched the first 3 episodes so far, but my prediction is that this is going to be an epic disaster in many ways. So what are your thoughts on this dating show? And ladies, do you agree or disagree that Christy has positively no business making these men jump through hoops for her frozen powdered eggs? Let me know down below in the comments. And for less than the price of a cappuccino, you can watch my play-by-play analysis of Labor of Love and other popular dating shows where you can learn how to get with hot girls without draining your bank account. Guys, this is raw, uncensored content that cannot get taken down by YouTube, that also features a private chat that allows you to interact with like-minded men during the stream. The link is in the description.